just thinking about this event, what we've been doing in Mississippi for years, and what it means, it's personal to me. It's personal because I, too, have to be the first person to do something. I'm the first person of color to ever lead the National Board. I'm the first MBCT to ever lead the organization and hold the certificate that the organization is about. But what's more important is, I think about the work that I'd left and coming to the National Board. I spent 38 years as a mathematics teacher, the principal of an engineering school that I started, and the importance of education. And I go all the way back to my grandfather, who at the turn of the century was a college-educated man and made sure everyone in his family had an education. It was important. And I never, even from the time I could even remember learning to read and write, it was always drilled in me the importance of an education and what it can bring and what it can do. And it is the one thing that no one can take away from you. You take it everywhere you go, that earning power, that ability to be in a room and to say, I belong in this room. To know that, your credential means the same as anyone else's, and that you walk in with a level of confidence that some people say may border on arrogance, but it is well-deserved. So I just want to talk just a little bit before, you all get to think about and talk about what we can do together. So in his book, Strength to Love, it's known for its short, meditative, sermonic pieces crafted during the tumultuous years of the civil rights struggle. Dr. King wrote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." These words ring true now more than ever, and at a time when there's so much unrest and racially charged violence in the country, it's fitting that we're gathered here in the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum. With so much history surrounding us, and many of us have lived a lot of this history, I hope it inspires us to take up the mantle and continue to move forward. It is no secret that there's still so much disparity in education of Mississippi's children. The state has made a lot of progress, but we have so many communities that find their schools and teachers and students are left along a wayside as others move forward, propelled by the advantages of their communities. We are here at Oasis to fulfill a promise of offering the best education to every child in Mississippi. I'm inspired as I look around this room and I see a promise of change. So as a president and CEO of the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, I have been engaged in and following the progress of board certification in Mississippi for years. It has been a passion of ours. We have seen steady growth in the number of teachers who have earned this certification, and it is maybe a surprise to some of you that Mississippi is 4th in the nation in the percentage of teachers who have earned their national board certification. And the governor has thrown down the gauntlet to be first. He is going after North Carolina. So we are happy about that. And hopefully he knows what it takes for that to happen. This matters, and you've heard before, the research shows that students who have MBCTs learn more and they earn more. We have research for that. We even have research that is specific to Mississippi, and you've heard this, that a kindergarten student who has a board-certified teacher is 31% more likely to read at grade level at the end of the kindergarten year than without a board-certified teacher. What we know is there is a significant difference it makes for a teacher who is teaching students, who is board certified, in those early critical years, and that goes along. That never leaves that child, what they've learned and what they know. We also know from multiple researches that the learning gains from having an MBCT goes throughout their education. Every child, we say this all the time, deserves a board-certified teacher. The other thing that we know is students benefit in so many ways when they have a teacher who looks like them. Teachers of color provide powerful learning supports for students of color and white students alike. Students of color who have teachers who look like them improve their academic performance, they improve graduation rates, and they're more likely to attend college. Almost a third of Mississippi's teachers are teachers of color, and yet of the 4,568 MBCTs in Mississippi, only 352 are teachers of color. That's only 7%. We can change this. The National Board has, with the support of the Hewlett Foundation, spent the last 2 years engaging in an awareness campaign that allowed us to drill down and to find the barriers that were preventing teachers of color from attempting board certification. It's also important to note that the state of Mississippi provides significant support for teachers to become board certified. The state will reimburse the cost of certification. The world-class teaching program at 6 state universities works to recruit and support teachers through the process. Teachers who achieve board certification earn an additional $6,000, and in 16 counties in the Delta, there is an additional stipend of $4,000. And as Dr. Donaldson said, that's $10,000 a year for each teacher. And if you think about that over a career, that is life-changing. Later, you're going to hear from Dr. Stacy Donaldson, a board-certified teacher herself, as well as the 2008-2009 Mississippi Teacher of the Year. She's going to tell us about information we gathered about the barriers and the causes of teachers of color not pursuing board certification. In short, there's been misinformation, there's been lack of information, and in some cases, even deliberately misleading information that stands in the way of these teachers. These barriers deprive students of the educational advantages of having an MBCT and deprive teachers of the opportunity of additional income and our communities of the advantages of both. So we must and we can bridge these barriers. Having the percentage of MBCTs of color match or exceed the teachers' percentage of color in the state is the next step in this journey of educational equity. Beginning in January of this year, MBCTs in Mississippi began a journey inspired by the words of Dr. James Meredith, a civil rights movement icon and a true warrior in education who is honoring us with his presence today. Those MBCTs began a March to the Future social media campaign. And for 22 weeks, they gathered online, they shared their stories, they shared information, and they shared the purpose of making a change. And inspired by the March Against Fear walk of the civil rights movement, in which the participants we know walked 270 miles from Memphis to Jackson, these teachers began a registration drive to set out to make board certification part of the vocabulary and the career path of teachers across the state. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Dr. Meredith, who launched his walk on June 5th in 1966, just 56 years ago to the day this past Sunday. But now we fast forward. And now we're reaping the benefits of his work, and so many of us the others who fought for equal rights. National Board worked to design and receive a Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund grant. The Technology Integration for Mississippi Educators, or the TIME grant, provided funds for 300 teachers to have their board certification paid, receive an iPad, Apple training and mentoring for their board certification process. Building upon the information we gathered by MBCT's ambassadors and peer consultants, the March to the Future team joined the national board staff in getting the word out to encourage teachers to apply for the cohort. The responses were overwhelming proof that the barriers, if those barriers are addressed and teachers are invited as valued members, Mississippi teachers of color will respond. And we know they did. In a matter of 2 weeks, 994 teachers applied for 300 positions. Of those who applied, 52% of those were teachers of color, 9% male, 66% were from districts rated C, D, or F. They were from the places where we need them to be. The 300 were selected have been truly historic. 81% are teachers of color. 77% are Black. 73% are from D and F rated districts. 100 of those teachers are here in the building today, beginning the journey of their very first steps to board certification. 200 others will gather tomorrow at Jackson State University E-Center. These teachers will be nurtured and supported by Jackson State University's world-class teaching project, as well as by the staff of the National Board. And I'll be checking in with them and celebrating with them every step of the way. So here's my first ask of you. What can you do to support and encourage the 300 teachers? How can your community support their commitment and courage to open their professional practice to be measured by the highest standards in this country? But the bigger question I have is, how can we work together to make it possible for those 694 who could not be accepted into this cohort for this experience? That weighs on me heavily. So, for a long time, teachers of color have been excluded. They have been told that they are less than, that their work and their students would never measure up. And many would never even be given the information to decide to even try. But here in this building, we are surrounded by memories and artifacts of those who led the change before us. Here in the presence of so many who have paved the way with their work and their words and their blood. And here is where we make an historic change. Board certification will not be limited to certain districts and certain teachers or groups of teachers. Together, we can bring Mississippi schools into the future that hundreds and thousands of marchers were looking toward. I thank you for joining us to share your creative thinking, your connections, and your own platforms to help us build this momentum for this moment. I stand with you as an MBCT and hope that you're ready to roll up your sleeves and join us in this work in which Mississippi's classrooms will reflect the diversity of the state, as well as every child has a board-certified teacher in their classroom. And I think about every day as I wake up. I live near Anacostia, and on the hill is the home of Frederick Douglass. And I think every morning what he said, it is easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men. And this is what we can do. Thank you.